Okay, so we just got done seeing Fury, the new World War II movie, by the same director of Day of Watch. No, not Day of Watch. End of Watch. That's right. End of Watch and Sabotage. And actually, he made this and Sabotage came out the same year. We didn't like Sabotage.
I liked this a lot more than
yeah,
Sabotage.
This was a much better movie than Sabotage. This director, as a writer and director, he's always done, even the movies of his I don't like, and the ones I do like, he's always done a really good job writing bleak, dark characters and mean characters, and that's definitely relevant in this. You definitely get a lot of that in this movie. And Sabotage, I think that didn't work because the characters were so unlikable that it was hard to invest in them. In this one, there's a good balance. In this movie, the movie centers around a small crew that runs a tank named Fury, led by Brad Pitt. And, the reason it works better in this movie is because although a couple of them are, well, one in particular is a flat-out jerk, the rest of them, it's not that they're jerks, it's just that
they've been at war too long.
They're rusted out, yeah. They're rusted out.
They've been doing it too long. Mm-hmm. They're just, yeah.
But yeah, from the opening scene, we are introduced to the crew, and they're all in the tank, and you can just, through just the dialogue and the way they look and the way how they're acting, you can just tell they have been together for too long. They're family, but at the same time, they are clearly tired of each other, and you can just feel the heartache and the toll that this has taken on them. And all through just the opening scene, and that was really well done. Brad Pitt is trying his best. He is trying so hard to be the best leader he can and to keep his cool in front of everyone. But war is clearly affecting him as well. Possibly affecting him harder than the others. But he's trying so hard to not have that be seen in front of everyone else.
One of the things in the opening scene that I think struck me the hardest was you see all these men in the tank, and they're just kind of talking and stuff like that, and all of a sudden you realize that there's a body in there with them.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael Pena,
mm-hmm.
or Pena, the driver, is
mm-hmm.
holding his hand,
mm-hmm.
then Brad Pitt is like, man, he's dead.
He's
Stop
dead.
holding his hand.
You gotta let him go.
You know?
Exactly.
And obviously you can see that Brad Pitt doesn't want to let it go either, but he's trying to...
Exactly. He's trying to be the father/leader figure for everyone. And he's not... It's not that he's not doing a good job, he's doing his best, but he's not succeeding in that as much as he would like.
Mm-hmm.
And so to introduce the crew, you got Brad Pitt as the lead, and then you got Shane from The Walking Dead, who is the biggest jerk of them all. And then you got Shia LaBeouf and Michael Pena. And then we are introduced to our main protagonist, Norman, and he's the new kid on the block, and he has zero war experience, of course.
He's a rookie.
And of course, he wasn't supposed to be stationed there.
He was a pencil pusher.
Exactly.
And he was thrown into battle because
he's kind of the same guy from Saving Private Ryan, the translator. He's kind of like that.
He's kind of like, yeah.
He's just rookie, I would say this character does a better job adapting to the war than the guy from Saving Private Ryan.
All the other men don't
exactly.
Kind of like,
and I didn't.
You're just another face
exactly.
to die.
And so his name's Norman. He joins the group, and of course, no one likes him. Yeah, and I didn't. It didn't like hurt the movie a ton, but I thought the whole new kid on the block thing was. It's
not a new concept.
It's just nothing new.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say it's cliche, but it's just very. It almost felt
something we've seen before.
It felt a little forced. Like, of course they don't like him. Of course they're being mean to him. Of course they're yelling at him. Of course they're blaming something when something intense happens and he doesn't react right away in the middle of a battle. Of course they get in his face about it because they're trying to toughen him up. It was just a little forced, and I think that was a bit of a weakness to it. At the same time, as the movie went on, I kind of realized that it did play a little bigger part into the movie with the arc between him and the chemistry between him and Brad Pitt. Because, so anyways, without getting too much into that yet, so he joins the group, and so them along with 3 other tanks, they're scouting through Germany, killing Nazis.
They're just leading the column.
Yeah, that's all there is to it.
And just to set this up, this is 1945, near the end of the war.
Very close to the end.
They're in Germany. They've been fighting for 4 years, and they just kind of, you can see, and I think they did what I felt they did a really good job of is showing the desperation of the Germans at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they're fighting the Germans, you can feel the desperation, and also of the American soldiers, just like, we just want to get this done,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they even say it in the opening text that Hitler was desperate. I mean, one of the first groups of Nazis we see in battle are all teenagers, and they emphasize that they're just kids.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Brad Pitt takes no pity on that. And then whenever, actually,
he can't though, because
yeah, exactly.
like he said, well, you took pity on them, and because of that,
look what these teenagers can do.
Died.
Yeah. In fact, one thing I did notice, unless I'm mistaken, every single time they encounter a German civilian, they help them. Pretty much almost every time.
There was that time that they were going through the column, and there was those civilians walking along the road, and they just kind of let them pass.
Yeah.
They didn't.
But what I mean is, there was never really a time that not a soldier, but a regular German civilian fought against them or tried to rebel. Either they helped them or they just let them be.
Mm-hmm.
They say, like, old man, where are the Germans? And right before the old man dies, he points right where they are hiding,
Which also showed that
they knew they were done.
The Germans wanted this to be over.
Yeah,
too.
they knew
like,
it was
over.
what,
they're over there,
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
And exactly. And the German soldiers too. Yeah, a lot of them you can tell, like, even though they don't really spend any time on pretty much any German soldiers, you can still tell.
There's no 2 sides to this story really.
Not really.
They don't really show any German characterization or anything.
A few of the civilians, but no soldiers. I mean, we have the 2 women, of course, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, they get into some battles throughout this road, and of course, again, the new kid, Norman, is, struggling. He eventually starts to get better at it, and he starts to adapt to the surroundings and getting tougher. And so, I mean, I'm not going to talk about the whole plot, just because I don't think that there will be much good to that. But I mean, well, not good to that, but I don't think we really need to. But I mean, all in all, so battle. And then if you've seen the trailer, they show that at one point their tank goes over a mine, the tank breaks down, they're stuck, and there's like 200 to 300 SS soldiers coming their way. And of course they decide to stay and fight. And that leads into the climax. So, I mean, the plot itself is very straightforward. Mm-hmm. There's not a whole lot of complexity.
It doesn't try to trick
there's
you
not even like a direct goal in them as far as the plot goes. It's just they're going along this road. This happens, and they decide to stay and fight. So what's going on with the characters? There's a lot. That's what it's really more about. This movie's a lot more about the centerpiece of these characters, the crew, what they're going through, what they have been going through, and what they're going to go through. And so, do they sell that well? I mean, that's what it really boils down to. I'd say yes, all in all. These feel like 3-dimensional characters. Each one of them in the crew they all have their elements of a character. They all stand out. They're not all just...
When you're watching this movie, or at least for me,
mm-hmm.
I felt what they were feeling.
Exactly. And that's the thing, when you see Norman first join the group, he doesn't get along. They all just come off as jerks. And then you learn more about each one. Shia LaBeouf's character is a devoted Christian, and Shane from The Walking Dead is kind of this cocky but tough jerk, and then and Brad,
like a redneck,
very redneck. Which again, Walking Dead Shane, his character from Walking Dead is not a whole lot different.
Really?
He's and so they all kind of have their own personalities, and like you said, you can really feel what each one's going through, and so it does ultimately work. I feel like Brad Pitt, as the movie goes on, starts to feel a better connection with this green rookie than anyone else. And the scene that stands out the most, at least for me in this movie, is a scene halfway through the film where where they stop at a town, and Brad Pitt and Norman go into an apartment, and they come across two German women who are in their home, and so basically Brad Pitt just has one of them fix them up with a meal. And while this is happening, one of the women starts to have a little bit of chemistry with Norman.
It was kind of forced chemistry, in my opinion.
I didn't think it was, though. I actually thought they did that well, because when you're in a war like that, I feel like it's gonna be forced. Like, I think it's kind of that, like, well, you might as well kind of mentality. And that totally happened. It still happens, no doubt. And I liked that, though. It was a nice, peaceful moment from all the chaos that's happening throughout this very bleak and very brutal film.
But I obviously felt like, maybe not the younger one, but the older one, she didn't want them to be there.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No,
she hated them.
She did not in the least bit feel comfortable with their presence, but what can she do? What can she do? And so I feel like that scene was Brad Pitt just taking an escape from everything and trying to have a moment of peace. And also trying to have a moment of peace with Norman.
Because he shaves.
He shaves, he cleans himself up, and he actually looks nicer than he's looked throughout any other part of the movie. And he wants to have a nice meal with this very green yet good-hearted kid and these two beautiful, nice German women who've cooked him a meal. And there's just a nice moment. And then, of course, the rest of the tank crew barges in drunk.
Finds them somehow.
Finds them, and Shane from The Walking Dead specifically ruins it. Just totally ruins it. He makes a jerk. He bullies the younger German girl and makes her cry, and it's, really pissing off Norman, but what can he do? Shane is like twice the size of Norman, so Norman can't beat him up. And Brad Pitt the whole time is saying, like, you're not ruining this for me. You're not going to ruin this meal for me. And they ultimately do. And shortly after they are finally getting up and leaving, that apartment gets hit, and the two women die. And I don't know. Like, I feel like that is one of the most crucial moments of the movie. I feel like that was the moment that was kind of exploring the bigger themes of this movie, or the bigger message of this movie. I honestly don't know exactly what this movie is trying to say, but I feel like it was like almost like they did escape for a while, and then the war just came back to hit them right in the face. But it was a very interesting scene, no doubt. It goes on for a long time, longer than you think it would.
I feel like I did understand the point of the scene, and I did like the scene. I feel like it could have been shorter. Mm-hmm. It's kind of gets to the point where you're kind of like, okay, come on,
sure,
we get what you're doing here. Just wrap it up. We want to get back to it.
I was okay with and I hear what you're saying. I was okay with it just because until Shane comes in and ruins it, that's really the only break we get from the movie, because this whole movie from beginning to end is very dark, very depressing, and very bleak. And it's realistic in that sense. But I kind of like that, though. But anyways, that's just a very interesting scene. So, I mean, talking about, how does the action, fit? The action was overall really well done. Very well shot. It's brutal.
Very brutal.
It's interesting to see how, when you look at, like, the cannon blasts and the machine gun firing, the firing is so powerful, it almost looks like laser beams from a Star Wars movie. Which I'm not saying that's unrealistic.
Well, they're tracers.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying they're unrealistic. I'm just saying it almost just goes to show how insane the firing.
Because the point of that is just every 3 rounds in a machine gun, there's a bullet called a tracer, which leaves a trail, so you can see where you're shooting. Mm-hmm. And in this movie, they do it so well that you feel like you're there. Like,
exactly.
Holy crap! You know, like.
And I think the one thing that this movie does to kind of stand itself out from the bazillion other World War II movies is that it's centered around the tank and the crew that rides it. Tanks are usually secondary plot points in movies. Like in Saving Private Ryan, in the climax, oh crap, we got to get rid of those 2 tanks, or something like that. But, you rarely see it actually about the people running the tank. And I liked that. It was
in most World
fresh.
War II movies, tanks are just the vehicle.
Exactly.
It's not the people inside
Exactly.
it.
Well, heck, at one point, because Shia LaBeouf is the one who actually does the firing of the cannons.
Yeah,
and
Michael Pena drives. The new kid is the forward gunner. Shia LaBeouf is the aimer and the fire, and then the guy from Walking Dead is the reloader.
Mm-hmm. And Brad Pitt is like the director. He directs them on what to do, the navigator, so to speak. So at one point, Shia, in this very intense battle with a Tiger tank.
That scene was intense.
That's probably the best battle scene in the whole film. Is these 4 American tanks versus a Tiger tank.
Well, 3 because the first one gets knocked out like instantly.
Well, still, I'm saying that. But at the end of it, when it's all said and done, Brad Pitt pats Shia and he's like, "Good shoot, good shoot." And I'm trying to remember what he says. He says something like, he said, "Well, I'm not the instrument. I'm just the hand that plays it," or something like that. I liked that. That was a great line. But yeah, it was. There was something new that this movie brought. It was that perspective, and it did it well. I like it how, again, you just see how you were talking about this earlier about how just the movie is so constantly depressing in its war depictions. It's so over the top.
Another thing, there might be a few other movies that do this, but one of the things that shocked me the most about this movie is it's an American movie, but the way that it depicts American soldiers is very neutral. Like the one scene after the first battle where they capture that German soldier and Brad Pitt forces the new guy to shoot him in the back.
And everyone is okay with it.
Everyone is just fine with it.
In
And
fact,
of course, the new guy is like, "No, I'm not going to do this." And he basically takes him and forces him to shoot him. And then after they shoot him, this guy is breaking down, and everyone's just like, "Whatever." And they all just walk.
A couple of them are actually laughing at it. You think it's funny that Norman is so green at it. I think, and that's the thing though, is that
that scene is very powerful.
Yes, the movie is, and I think this is what works on it. The movie is just packed with emotion, and the actors do a great job selling it. If in a lesser made film with a lesser, good cast, this would have not worked. If the cast didn't do a good job selling it, and if it wasn't done just enough without it shoving it down your throat, the over emotions would have felt manipulative and it would have just felt too forced. But they did it just right, and this movie does a great job selling it. And you were telling me that you felt like every scene was just trying to almost shock you with its brutal depictions. But I like that because you just see how this never ends for them. They are constantly. I mean, they're on German soil. They are constantly just in this war, war zone.
And there many times, when they're going along the road, I don't remember who it was. I think it was the new guy is like, "Well, where are the Germans?" And I think it was Shia LaBeouf's character says, "Man, we're in Germany. They're everywhere."
Yeah, exactly.
They're all around us.
Exactly. One moment they're all giggling over a stupid sex joke, and then the next, their friends are getting set on fire. It's like and that's why the kitchen scene, that scene in the apartment, is so unique from everything else because it's such a break from everything. But that's what I like though about it is that it just does it so well. And again, I really want to get a better understanding of Brad Pitt's character and the relationship between he and Norman. There's that one part where he tells Norman, all right, go out there and look out for Nazis. And he says, can I bring my canteen? He says, yeah, bring your canteen. It's almost like he's become a father figure almost for him. And I think that's why those two connect better than the rest of everyone else. But, to go real quick into the acting again, I everyone talks right now about Shia LaBeouf and the controversy he's in, and with the plagiarism stuff that happened, you can't ignore that, and with the arrests he's been in, you can't ignore that. I mean, the guy has been shooting himself in the foot over and over again and keeps digging himself in a hole. And I talked about this in my weekly update video that I grew up watching the guy. I grew up watching Even Stevens. I loved Holes. I grew up watching this guy. So to see him keep doing this over and over again, it hurts, But you know what? The guy's still a good actor. Because he was great in this movie.
He was amazing in this movie.
The only thing and it wasn't terrible. At first, his southern accent was a little distracting because I knew he wasn't southern. But
I don't know if I really noticed it.
Just a couple lines. But as the movie went on and I got more invested, it didn't bother me at all. But no, he's great in it. And Shane from The Walking Dead, that actor, I'm sorry, I don't know the guy's name, but Shane from The Walking Dead, that's a great actor. I think he was his character is now dead on The Walking Dead, but I always thought his character was one of the best characters that show ever had, and his performance totally sold it. And everyone, like I said, everyone else is great too. I mean, it's an interesting watch. I recommend it. I don't know if it's a war film that I would watch over and over and over again, but I'd watch it again. Yeah. Would I recommend the theaters?
I feel like for me, it was a war film not only because of the action, but it was a war film that wanted you to feel the war.
And it did a great job.
It didn't want you to just go so you could see people shooting other people. It wanted you to feel what they felt,
Yeah.
And most war films people want to watch are just, stuff where they just want to watch the war film, people shooting. This is a movie that makes you feel, so it's something that you don't want to watch.
This movie,
because it's kind of depressing.
It absolutely is depressing. Again, this director
it's kind of like, why, it's a movie that makes you think, why did we do this to
exactly, there's no...
It makes you think.
You talk about honor and war and the glamour of it, but there's no glamour in it. And there's honor in being a warrior, it's sure, but, there's no honor in a lot of what soldiers do in wars. There's no honor, there's nothing glamorous about it. It's completely ugly.
And that is what Brad Pitt's character keeps shoving down the new kid's throat.
Yeah.
He's like, this is war,
Yeah.
This is what we're here to do. We're here to kill them, and they're here to kill us.
Exactly. So yeah, it's a solid World War II movie. It does great on the emotion. It's a little heavy. I'd say go see it in the theaters. Yeah. Especially if you're into World War II movies, if you're into war films, if you're someone who can't handle the brutality of war films, definitely skip it then because it's not going to be for you. But I definitely recommend this movie. I give it a B. It's a good movie.
It's a movie that you should see at least once.
Absolutely,
because it makes you think.
And I think it does have. It definitely has replay value. Definitely. Again, I'm not saying it's. I'm not the biggest fan of war films, as I've already told you. I know you're really into them. I'm not the biggest fan of war films, so there's not too many war films that I do watch over and over and over and over again. But this is one that I would watch again. It has good replay value. And again, the action scenes are intense. The emotion is real. Solid film. Definitely recommend it.
We could talk trailers really quick.
Yeah, that's I'm trying to think of.
Well, we got
John Wick again.
Into the Woods again.
We're starting to get into the woods again. It's the Dracula Untold of the last few months of 2014.
We've got this trailer so many times, and you know what? It doesn't even look that interesting to me. It looks stupid.
I think it might be good. I just don't want to see that. I want to see a different trailer. That's all. I think it might be alright. I just don't want to see that same trailer because it goes on forever.
Okay, so Into the Woods.
We got the interview again.
John Wick interview.
And then we got... I've actually gotten that trailer, the Kevin Hart trailer before. You weren't with me. I think I got it at No Good Deed. I keep forgetting the name of it, but there's a new comedy with Kevin Hart about this chubby white guy who needs a best man for his wedding, and so he literally hires Kevin Hart to be the best man.
I don't know if you've ever seen this movie, but watching this trailer reminded me of Hitch.
I know what Hitch is. I've only seen
It's
parts of it.
basically a chubby white guy
Kevin James.
that needs help from
So he goes to Will
from a
Smith.
smooth black guy.
Yeah.
And then we got that other World War II movie about the
Unbreakable.
runner.
Yeah, Angelina Jolie. I'm gonna look this up real quick. I don't know. I want to know if she has directed anything else. Angelina Jolie is directing. I've actually gotten this trailer a couple times. She's directing a new movie.
I was with you once when we got it.
It's a
It was a
drama.
while ago though.
Yeah, you could tell this is.
It feels more to me like not. I don't feel.
It's
like
not a war film.
It's not a war film.
It's a drama.
It's a survival film.
Absolutely, it is. Well, yeah, I think
it's like it begins with like their.
It's not Unbreakable. I'm sorry. That's the Unbreakable. I think it's called Unbroken. Unbreakable is the M. Night Shyamalan movie.
M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong.
Yeah, M. Night Shyamalan. Yeah, Unbroken. I'm sorry, but yeah. So, I mean that looks. She has directed a couple movies. Oh no, she's directed one other movie, and she's gonna be directing a movie next year. But anyway,
the other movie?
In the Land of Blood and Honey. Haven't seen it. Haven't heard of it. But I mean that looks. I mean, it looks like one of those things because it's based on a true story. It looks like one of those things where the true story sounds remarkable. And I think the guy wrote a book and that's what the movie's basing itself off. I'm sure the book is a fantastic read and this guy's life story, everything that you see this guy go through is inspirational.
But
I
don't think it will adapt to the story.
I just don't know if the movie... Maybe
there was
it will.
A movie that came out a few years ago. I didn't see it. I don't remember what it was called, but it was kind of the same thing where it was like this dude got captured by the Japanese during the war. And then, like, after the war, he, like, goes back and tries to find the captain that was in charge of his internment camp. I don't know how that was, but it looked kind of like, it was a true story.
I remember getting that trailer and getting that confused with this trailer. The first time I saw the trailer for Unbroken, I thought that was the same movie at first.
Yeah.
But, it looks interesting. With this coming out towards the later part of the year, you can tell that they're hoping this will kind of get some Oscar eyes, definitely. It's too early to tell.
John Wick, man. John Wick's gonna take it all, dude.
I don't know enough about Unbroken to know if this is gonna be an Oscar-winning movie that will actually do it well, or if it's just Oscar bait. I don't like saying Oscar bait because that's a term that gets thrown around too much.
It's true though.
But I mean, there are Oscar bait movies. I don't know if this is an Oscar bait movie or a movie that's really good and is coming out because it knows that the end of the year is when you put the best movies of the year out. So too early to tell with Unbroken. I wouldn't pass on seeing the first movie Angelina Jolie directed. I'd be interested to see how she is as a director. I like her okay as an actor. So, did we get any other trailers?
No, I think that was it.
Okay.
Just 5.
Well, John Wick is still doing awesome at Rotten Tomatoes, which is encouraging. So, I'm glad that's
That'll be next
out.
week.
That's next week. We're going to wait on Saturday so Sebastian can watch it with
I was
us.
also noticed, I'm sure this won't shock you at all, but it seems like Ouija is not having any pre-screenings.
Of course it's not. Of course it's not. They don't want the teenagers to know that movie sucks.
Because that comes out next week too.
Oh, now I know what I'm doing Thursday night.
Geez.
Since we're going to go see John Wick on Saturday, I'll go see the piece of crap movie first.
Oh, God.
And then I'll end my weekend by seeing the good movie. That way it won't be like what it was with Annabelle. I saw Gone Girl on Thursday and then saw Annabelle on Friday. And the high that I was on how awesome Gone Girl was kind of hurt by the mediocre tone that Annabelle was. Although I bet you $1 million Annabelle will be a much better film than Ouija.
Yeah.
Because Annabelle was actually not that bad of a movie. It just wasn't scary. Ouija looks terrible. Okay, well. enough
Anyway,
rambling.
Fury, good movie.
Good movie.
Go see it.
Go see it.